Alright, World Traveler assignment. When you look, there's the instructions. These are the files you're going to need. These are the written instructions. And then, of course, this is the template, which looks like this. Okay, now also if you look, you really will see, for the most part, the instructions. Things are a little different because we're using some different software, but see, place background picture here, resize it to cover the gray area, place a photograph of a person in the background as if they were really there. Repeat this for each of these squares so that there are 4 total. Now if you notice, this is telling you to put it into the M drive, name it World Traveler for your own keepsake so that you have it, okay? Here's a little tip. Control T is the shortcut to resize things. When you save it, make sure that it is a .jpeg. And then of course you put it in your M drive, which is where you will find it when you submit it on Canvas. Now, when you go to Google and you search for things, if you hover over the picture, you'll see the size. Okay? So go for ones that are large. The larger the better, because you can always shrink it. Okay? So this one's pretty darn large, but I like this size. So yeah, 1960 by 1080, that's a good size. If you start, most of these are pretty big because I search for a very generic scenery kind of picture. If you get to the ones that are really small though, the 300 or see this one 574 by 428, that's small. It's not going to be very good. Okay, so larger ones are definitely better. They're easier to work with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go for this one. You want to make sure to click. This is still small. You want the full size thing, you got to click on View Image. Then I can right click Save Image As. And I went and grabbed a picture of me to use. But I'll go to Digital Media 1, Term 1, My Life. If you guys will do yours something like this, or World Traveler, so what this one is, it's better. Okay, so I'll just call this Beach. And I'll put it in here with examples. So I've got this beach picture, which I'm then going to go File and Place Embedded. And then where is my beach picture? Oh, I put it in the wrong place. In My Life instead of World Traveler. Examples, there's beach. Okay, so if you hold down Shift, it keeps it from changing, squishing too much. Now frankly, I would rather the picture stay proportionate. Okay, so even though this doesn't fill up the entire gray space, it fills up enough of it. Okay, so you fill up as much of it as you can, but I don't want you to go like this and stretch out the picture. Okay, some pictures, maybe a tiny bit and it's okay, but don't do it too much, or else it really just distorts your picture. Then I press enter. Okay, so now I have this lovely beach. Now here's where this picture comes inside. I took a little bit of time to cut this out. It's not perfect, so really it would be best if I went and, zoomed in my husband's feet. Maybe that's a little too zoomed in. Oop, Control Z, gotta switch to my paintbrush in order to kind of get the rest of his shoe in here, in the picture. Okay, so really, you want to just switch back and forth to make a good selection. The better the selection, the easier it's going to be to get it into your picture and looking good. Okay? But this one's pretty good for the time spent. So it's selected. I'm going to go ahead and go Edit, Copy, come to my World Traveler and do Edit, Paste. Now I can see there's a few places where a little extra from my picture came in, so I'll just erase those because I don't want that. And I'll teach you some better techniques for putting things in there later. But as you look, okay, layer 1, beach layer, you want to make sure everything is on its own layer. So I'll come in here, I'll hold down Shift, and shrink myself down. Obviously, if you have full size, whoops, I don't want to rotate it. If you have full size picture, like your feet are showing, it's easier to place yourself. If your feet weren't showing, you'd, put it so that wherever you cut off is at the edge. Okay, so I could make myself smaller. Don't go too tiny though, please. whatever, and I press enter. There I am. Now there's definitely some things we can do in order to make it look more realistic. But that is the basics of it. Okay, and then of course, like one really good thing to do is if I go like this and I duplicate my layer. Doesn't look like it duplicated. Well, another way to do it is I click and drag this down into new layer. Or not. Or maybe the lag is just killing me. Let's see. Yeah, the lag is killing me here. Sorry guys, I'm going to pause for a minute until it catches. Okay, I forgot one of the important things. When you're resizing and moving something around, you have to push enter in order to accept it. Okay, so make sure you do that. Oh, and it's still laggy. Alright, we'll come back to that. Now, you're going to do this for each picture, trying to put it in so that it looks natural. So maybe I'm a little too large still because there's these chairs, so if I needed to shrink it down, I'd need to do that. Also, if you notice, it says paint over this type, World Traveler, and then and type, World Traveler. So what this means is I don't want to see any of this gray and these instructions in your finished product. Okay? So you can use the paintbrush, and I could make a new layer. Oh my goodness, this is just lagging like crazy. It has frozen. Alright, back to what I was trying to do. I created a duplicate of this layer and I'm putting it so it's beneath my main picture. You really want to label pictures, so I'm going to say, you know, R and N, because that's for Rachel and Nate. And then that is our shadow. This is a duplicate of us right now, but it's going to be our shadow. So I have the shadow layer clicked and I go Control T. And I go to where there's this little rotate, just so I can kind of see that yes, there's a duplicate of me, and I press enter. Now I'm going to FX and I'm going to do a color overlay. So now we are red. Now I'm going to turn it into a nice shadow color, and seeing as how I'm on a beach, my shadows should be kind of a, you want to make it so that it's going to look kind of like it would on a beach. And right now it's really dark, and that's okay. So for now we'll call that good, and I'm going to say okay. Now if I look at the way the shadows are going, I want to match the sunlight. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and do Skew. Skew allows me to move things side to side. So now you can see how I'm going to angle it so that it's kind of going at the angle. And of course you want it to kind of match up with your feet, so press enter. Now I have my opacity, which is how transparent it is. So I'm going to make it kind of transparent. And it's still just not, I mean, these are kind of advanced techniques, so I'm not saying that you guys have to do this. This is just one example of how to make things really look like they're matching. That they really, you know, that you are actually in the picture. Because obviously if you're standing on a sunny beach and you have no shadow and everything else does, it's not going to look very realistic. So then I would take my eraser, and I want to obviously get rid of that arm that's sticking out so far. And really, since I'm working on this one picture, I would come in. Now I can use my eraser, and we don't want to have a shadow where there shouldn't be one in front of him. And, you know, obviously shadows there, not really. Now my perspective for this is really off. So you want to spend a lot of time finagling it, making it perfect. Hardness. If I make the hardness really low, and then make my brush bigger, I can kind of see how it fades a little. Anyways, that's the idea. This is by no means perfect, and I would sit, and if I wasn't running out of time and making this tutorial way too long, I would sit and perfect this to make it look a little more realistic. But that's the idea. And obviously you fade the edges a little bit, and I might want to even lower my opacity of my brush a little more so that it's not taking out as much. But it takes a lot of time and effort to make a really good shadow, but that's the idea of it. Okay? You could use your shape tool here, rectangle, and I would make a new layer, and I just want to put that layer at the bottom. Blue background works for me. There we go, see? Ta-da! So obviously I need to go below all the pictures but above all the text. Now this is what you do when you're done. You've got all 4 of them. You want to make sure to say, you know, oops, file, let's Control Z that because it's trying to type up here. And I'm going to go to R and N. Try that again. There we go. See, I do Rachel. It's black, so obviously it's not showing, so I need to switch it to something a little more vibrant. You know, Rachel Madison, period 1, world traveler. Okay, and I believe that's everything that you'd need. The 4 pictures, you'd file, save as, make sure you are making it a JPEG. And if you're not certain, pull up the internet, go to the rubric. Okay, 4 different pictures. 2 of them need to be real world, not video games. You can use 2 for video games or cartoons, but 2 have to be real. You make yourself look like you belong as much as possible. We'll get into more of ways to do that, but basics. Make sure that your name, period, and the title, World Traveler, are in there and saved as a JPEG. So I've done all that. I'll save. Okay? You obviously pretend that I've got 4 instead of just 1, but that is the assignment in a nutshell. And I would just make sure that this was visible somewhere on my project. You can use the move arrows on your keyboard to kind of move things little bits. Okay, and that's it for that one.